Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 10th and tonight's movie is Green Room. This is a thriller from 2015 about a band who's doing a concert at a place, and I think it's after the concert one of the band members sees a crime by a gang get committed, and they see that he sees it, so he runs back into the dressing room and then they all lock themselves in, but then they realize, well, they're just going to be getting reinforcements and waiting for us to leave this room, aren't they? The villains in this movie are neo-Nazi skinheads, and that's something you actually know going into it, unlike Soft and Quiet. Patrick Stewart is in this movie, and Patrick Stewart is just one of those actors that I can't really see as a character. It's always just Patrick Stewart. He's actually a lot like William Shatner in that regard. I remember seeing videos about this movie, and apparently it's really intense when it comes to the violence. Though, after seeing movies like Martyrs and Inside, I don't know how much more there even is to surprise me with. Who knows? I'm gonna go give it a watch. Overall, I thought that was very good. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. There are some problems here and there, but overall, this is a very well executed thriller. Heroes doesn't really feel like the right word. Group of protagonists are the 4 members of the band and 1 extra character. Her name is Amber, and she was a friend of the murder victim. That was the crime that was witnessed after the performance. They're all witnesses, they're all liabilities, so when it comes to the gang or group that owns the bar, they can't be allowed to leave. One thing that the movie is very good at is just really getting you into the minds of these characters and just how horrible this situation is for them. They are in enemy territory, they are outnumbered, they don't have any real resources. They have pretty much every disadvantage possible. They know pretty much from the beginning that if any of them are getting out of this alive, it is not going to be easy. When it comes to suspense, this movie does deliver. The entire third act, you're kind of on edge the whole time because there is no place where they're truly safe. Except for arguably the Green Room that the movie is named after. It has this one lock, and apparently that's enough that they don't try to break it down. And it is a little annoying and tedious how they leave and then they get scared and then they go back. This happens 2 or 3 times. And I will say, there is one jump scare in this movie that was so sudden, it actually got me. Normally, horror movie jump scares have this formula to them that if you see enough horror movies, you can generally catch on to. This had none of that. That type of stuff isn't something a filmmaker should rely on, and to the movie's credit, that only ever happened one time. Green Room really does pick up at the end, but there is sort of a point in the middle where it feels like it's spinning its wheels a little bit. They make a plan, they escape the Green Room, it goes wrong, one of them dies, they run back to the Green Room, repeat 2 or 3 times. But it did all come together in a very satisfying resolution. If it interests you, I would recommend it. And now I want to talk about some spoilers. By the time the third act comes, there are only 2 survivors left. The bassist of the band named Pat, and Amber, the other witness. The actors who played these 2 characters did a really good job. Pat was played by Anton Yelchin, who this actually was his last movie before he died in an SUV accident. Pat's character was definitely the fish out of water by the end of the movie, who had to rise to the occasion. He was the first injury in the movie, actually. There was a negotiation through the Green Room door of sending over a gun that was in the room. They eventually settled on handing over the gun, but without any bullets, and when he, pushed it through the door, they hacked at his arm with machetes, and he got a bunch of slashes. Amber was the wild card. She was the one member of the group that wasn't, established already. But she's also the only one that seems to have any sort of experience or street smarts. She's played by Imogen Poots, who had a leading role in another movie I saw for Horror Nights, Vivarium. I liked her a lot more in this movie. By the end, it's just the 2 of them, so even though they don't really know each other, they have to work together if they're going to survive. I did like the last confrontation inside the club where Amber and Pat worked together to take out the 2 thugs that were sent in to kill them. But it's not over at that point. They still have to, leave the area without getting killed. There are a lot of casualties by the end of this movie, and the owner of the bar, played by Patrick Stewart, I guess was going to try to frame it as they all died because they were trespassing. Realistically, I don't know how well that would have worked. No matter how well they staged the crime scene, some of the people died of gunshot wounds, some of them died of, getting attacked by knives. 2 of them died because a dog killed them. But we don't actually see how that would have gone because eventually they are able to kill Patrick Stewart's character, and he was the last guy. And that was a sort of like exhale moment where you could finally relax. Normally in movies like this, there's only one survivor, but in this one, there are two. And they were two people that had no experience with each other before that day. And one interesting thing is that, like, while it was happening, they did seem to try to, even for the sake of survival, form some sort of camaraderie between themselves. But when it's actually over, that sort of goes away. Like, the last part of the movie is Pat saying, I finally thought of the answer to that question that was asked, because, like, they were all asked, if you were on a deserted island but could only listen to one band, who would it be? Pat was never able to come up with an answer to that question. But at the very end, when all is said and done, he turns to Amber and says he has an answer to that question, and she just sort of says, I don't care. And then the movie just stops. Oh yeah, and that jump scare I mentioned earlier in this review. In one of the times where they send in people to kill the band members, it is one of the skinheads who goes in, and he was actually the boyfriend of the girl who got killed at the beginning of the movie. He actually agrees to help them escape, so I guess he wants to get some revenge as well. He leads them out to the bar, and while he's talking and explaining, in the middle of a sentence, his head explodes in this gory effect while there's a shotgun blast. That was so surprising because it happened at a moment where things felt kind of safe. I thought that Green Room was a pretty good movie. Nothing spectacular in my opinion, but it absolutely gets the job done. If you like action thrillers, I'd say check it out. And that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow.